Picture this. You've just had the season of your life. You've broken records, won trophies, and left defenders crying in your wake. The football world is buzzing about your performances, and everyone's saying you're destined to win the Ballon d'Or. Then December comes around, and someone else's name gets called. Welcome to the world of Ballon d'Or robberies. Those moments that make us question everything we know about football's most prestigious individual award. The Ballon d'Or isn't just a golden ball sitting on someone's shelf. Since 1956, it's been the ultimate validation that you're the best footballer on the planet. It can define legacies, settle debates, and sometimes create the biggest controversies in football history. Today we're diving deep into the most shocking Ballon d'Or snubs that still have fans raging decades later. From tactical voting to narrative bias, we'll uncover why some of football's greatest ever performances were overlooked when it mattered most. So grab your popcorn because we're about to revisit some decisions that'll make your blood boil. Let's get into it. The Chavi Hernandez 2010 Alternative Perspective. Let's start with one of the most debated years in Ballon d'Or history, but not the one you might expect. While everyone talks about Sneijder in 2010, there's another argument that's even more compelling. Chavi Hernandez was robbed. Think about it. Spain had just won their first World Cup, playing the most beautiful football the tournament had ever seen, and at the heart of every single move was Chavi, the metronome who made tiki-taka tick. But here's what makes this truly controversial. Xavi finished third in the voting, behind Messi and Iniesta, while Sneijder finished fourth. Think about that for a moment. The man who completed 91% of his passes at the World Cup, who created more chances than anyone else in the tournament, who was the architect of Spain's golden generation, finished behind his own teammate who played the same style but with less influence on the overall game. At Barcelona, Xavi was having another masterclass season. While Messi grabbed the headlines with his goals, it was Xavi's vision and passing that unlocked defenses. He averaged over 100 passes per game with 95% accuracy. Numbers that seem almost impossible. The World Cup final against the Netherlands? Xavi completed 103 passes with 94% accuracy in one of the most physical, brutal finals ever played. He was calm under pressure when everyone else was losing their heads. Many Spanish journalists and former players have argued that the obsession with goals and flashy performances meant that the true genius, the player who made everyone else better, was overlooked. Xavi didn't just play football, he conducted symphonies on the pitch. This robbery perfectly encapsulates a larger problem. We often reward the goal scorers and forget the creators who make those goals possible. The Sneijder Scandal 2010. Now let's talk about 2010 and what might be the most clear-cut robbery of the modern era. Lionel Messi wins his second Ballon d'Or, beating Andres Iniesta and Xavi. Wesley Sneijder, he didn't even make the top three. That's right, the man who won the treble and reached a World Cup final finished fourth. Messi was incredible that year, 47 goals in all competitions for Barcelona. But here's the thing, football isn't just about individual brilliance, is it? Wesley Sneijder had the kind of year that fairy tales are made of. With Inter Milan, he orchestrated one of the greatest treble campaigns in history. He was the creative force behind their Serie A title, their Coppa Italia victory, and most importantly, their stunning Champions League triumph. Remember that Barcelona semi-final? Sneijder was pulling the strings as Inter knocked out the favorites with tactical masterpiece performances. Then in the final against Bayern Munich, it was Sneijder's vision and passing that unlocked the German defense. But wait, there's more. At the World Cup, Sneijder was joint top scorer with 5 goals, tied with Thomas Muller, Diego Forlan, and David Villa. But more importantly, he was the orchestrator of everything the Netherlands did. The man won the treble and reached a World Cup final, being the key player in both achievements. Meanwhile, Messi, as brilliant as he was, had a disappointing World Cup and lost the Champions League semi-final to Wesley Sneijder's Inter. That Sneijder didn't even make the podium still baffles people today. Many believe this marked the moment when the Ballon d'Or became too focused on goal statistics and individual brilliance rather than actual impact on winning the biggest trophies. The message was clear: score goals for Barcelona or Real Madrid or don't bother. Lewandowski's lost year, 2020. Here's one that still stings. 2020 was supposed to be Robert Lewandowski's year. The Polish striker was having the season of his life, breaking records that had stood for decades. Then COVID hit and France football decided decided to cancel the Ballon d'Or entirely. Let's talk about what Lewandowski achieved in 2019-20. He scored 55 goals in 47 games across all competitions. In the Bundesliga alone, he netted 34 times. But it wasn't just about the numbers, it was about how he got them. Bayern Munich's treble campaign was built around Lewandowski's incredible finishing and intelligent movement. In the Champions League knockout stages, he was unstoppable. Against Chelsea in the round of 16, he scored in both legs. Against Barcelona in that famous 8-2 quarterfinal, he didn't just score, he terrorized one of the world's best defenses. The statistics are mind-blowing. Lewandowski had more goal contributions, 55 goals plus 10 assists, than most teams scored that season. He was directly involved in a goal every 67 minutes he played. These aren't just great numbers, they're historically unprecedented. When the award was cancelled, many saw it as a convenient way to avoid a difficult decision. The timing felt suspicious, especially since other major awards like UEFA's Player of the Year continued. Even when Messi won in 2021, he acknowledged that Lewandowski deserved recognition for 2020. Lewandowski finally got recognition in 2021 with the inaugural Striker of the Year award, but many felt it was too little, too late. A consolation prize rather than the main event he deserved. Ribery's Robbery, 2013. 2013 might be the year that perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with Ballon d'Or voting. Cristiano Ronaldo won it, which on the surface seemed reasonable. He'd scored 69 goals and had an incredible individual season, but there was one small problem. He hadn't won anything significant. Meanwhile, Franck Ribery was busy having the season of his life while leading Bayern Munich to an unprecedented treble. The French winger was the creative force behind one of the most dominant seasons in football history. Ribery's 2013 was a masterclass in how to impact winning without being the main goal scorer. In the Bundesliga, he created more chances than anyone else while helping Bayern win the title by a massive 25 points. In the Champions League, his performances against Arsenal, Barcelona, and Borussia Dortmund were simply sublime. The numbers tell the story: 22 assists across all competitions, countless key passes, and most importantly, trophies. Bayern's treble was built on Ribery's ability to unlock defenses and create something from nothing. His partnership with Arjen Robben was devastating, but it was Ribery who made it all tick. What made this robbery particularly painful was the timing and voting manipulation. The voting deadline was extended, supposedly to allow for international break performances. Many saw this as moving the goalposts to favor a particular narrative, individual brilliance over collective success. But here's what really stung. Ribery finished third behind both Messi and Ronaldo. Despite winning everything possible at club level, he couldn't crack the top two against players who had brilliant individual seasons but fewer trophies. Even Bayern teammates were shocked. Manuel Neuer, Philipp Lahm, and others publicly stated that Ribery deserved better recognition. The French media went into overdrive, arguing that their most creative player had been systematically undervalued. What this robbery highlighted was the growing bias toward goal-scoring statistics over creative play and team success. Ribery's 22 assists should have carried more weight, but in a world obsessed with Messi versus Ronaldo, there was no room for alternative narratives. Luka Modric vs the Machines, 2018. Okay, this one's controversial because Luka Modric actually won in 2018, but many argue this was a robbery in favor of the Croatian midfielder. The robbery here was against Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, who had dominated the award for a decade. But here's why Modric's victory was absolutely deserved, and why calling it a robbery is completely wrong. The Real Madrid midfielder had just orchestrated one of the greatest midfield performances in World Cup history, leading Croatia to their first ever final. At club level, Modric was the engine behind Real Madrid's third consecutive Champions League triumph. In both the semi-final against Bayern Munich and the final against Liverpool, his control of the midfield was masterful. He wasn't just recycling possession, he was dictating the tempo and creating chances. The World Cup performances were even more spectacular. Against Argentina, his stunning long-range goal was one of the best of the tournament. Against England in the semi-final, his extra-time performances when he should have been exhausted were incredible. At 32, he was outrunning players 10 years younger. What made Modric's 2018 special was that he proved you don't need to score 50 goals to be the world's best player. In fact, his stats were modest, but his influence on games was immeasurable. He completed 91% of his passes at the World Cup while being the tournament's most creative midfielder. The real robbery would have been giving it to Messi or Ronaldo based purely on reputation. Modric earned every vote he received, and his victory reminded us that football is a team sport where different positions contribute in different ways. The Henry Heartbreak, 2003. Let's take it back to 2003, when Pavel Nedved won the Ballon d'Or ahead of Thierry Henry. This one still divides opinion, but many Arsenal fans will argue until their dying day that Henry was robbed. Thierry Henry in the 2002-03 season was playing football from another planet. He scored 24 goals and provided 20 assists in the Premier League alone. Let that sink in. 20 assists from a striker. He was doing things that defied logic and redefined what we expected from the center forward position. This was the season that laid the foundation for Arsenal's legendary invincible campaign the following year. Henry wasn't just scoring goals, he was creating them, dropping deep, pulling defenders out of position, and making the impossible look routine. Remember those goals where he would collect the ball on the halfway line, glide past 3 defenders like they weren't there, and finish with the precision of a surgeon? Henry wasn't just scoring goals, he was creating art on the football pitch. The statistics tell only part of the story. Henry's 44 goal contributions in the league were phenomenal, but it was the way he got them that left people speechless. He made defenders look foolish on a weekly basis. Nedved, meanwhile, had an excellent season with Juventus, helping them reach the Champions League final and playing with incredible consistency. His work rate was phenomenal, and his big game performances were crucial for Juve's success. So there you have it, some of the most controversial Ballon d'Or decisions that still spark debates today. From Xavi's creative genius being overlooked for goal statistics, to Sneijder not even making the podium despite a treble and World Cup final, these robberies reveal how the award has evolved, and sometimes failed to evolve. What's fascinating is the pattern. Creators like Chavi and Ribery often lose out to goal scorers. Team success gets trumped by individual brilliance, and sometimes politics and timing matter more than performances. Lewandowski's canceled year perfectly captures how external factors can rob players of their moment. The Ballon d'Or is voted on by journalists, not algorithms. It's inherently subjective, influenced by narratives, bias, and sometimes pure politics. Maybe that's what makes these robberies so painful, but also so memorable. Which robbery made your blood boil the most? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if you enjoyed this controversial journey, and subscribe for more football debates that'll have you questioning everything. Until next time, keep the arguments alive. Peace out.